Just real quick before we get into the video, I do make YouTube videos and stream full time. If you're interested in supporting that, I just made a Patreon. The link will be in the description. The year is 2012. I'm sitting alone in my father's latest girlfriend's apartment. It's dark. The only thing illuminating the room is the radiant glow of the TV that I was put in front of. An Xbox 360 is sitting on the floor in front of me. The only game in sight is already inside. Bright flashes blind my eyes from the incessant staring. It's 3 a.m. and I'm playing Left 4 Dead 2. At 13 years old, offline, and alone. You see, for the longest time, I didn't have Xbox Live. I grew up on the Super Nintendo and PlayStation 2. Mostly familiar with playing single-player games, over and over again. It was my first time playing Left 4 Dead 2. I didn't even know it was primarily an online game, and I didn't care. I was infatuated. I played till the sun came up in the morning that night, doing my best to complete each campaign on the highest difficulty that I could manage. I didn't beat most of the 13 campaigns that night. Hell, I only had access to 5 of them. It wasn't my game, and I wouldn't get to own my own copy for a few more years. I knew I wouldn't get another chance to play it for a while, and I took advantage of my opportunity to do so. When my dad woke me up at about noon the next morning, I knew it was time to say goodbye. I probably wouldn't come back here, and I probably wouldn't get to play it again. Even though I only played it one time, I always had fond memories of Left 4 Dead. The randomness of the game paired with the schlocky B-horror action movie tone was the perfect mix of horror and fun for young me. This was, of course, before our entire culture decided that zombies were the coolest thing ever. I had a unique experience with the game. Most people I hear talk about it played hundreds of hours, mostly online and with friends, versus co-op campaigns and survival. This all seemed foreign to me. Late to the online scene and an only child of only children, I was always partial to single-player games, even if they weren't explicitly single-player only. So one day when I was browsing games on speedrun.com with my then girlfriend at the time, like we often would, she suggested we check out Left 4 Dead 2. Wanting a trip down memory lane, I peered into what would ultimately be my favorite speedrun of all time. And that's like part of that. Oh my god, I survived that? What? Oh my god, I just turned on the car. No. 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 No.
Kill all sons of bitches. That's my official instructions.
Here is why you should speedrun Left 4 Dead 2. Left 4 Dead 2 has an insanely high skill ceiling. Not only is it a twitch shooter that requires fast camera flicks, but it also has one of the most punishing movement mechanic systems in any game I have ever tried to speedrun. You see, Left 4 Dead 2 is a game built on the Source engine, an engine notorious for creating some of the best movement-based speed games of all time. Essentially, when you're holding the W key, your movement speed is capped, but when you aren't, you can go as fast as you can accelerate. By alternating between the A and D keys while using the mouse to strafe through the air, you can gain insane speed and maintain it by jumping the instant you land. This is a technique known as bunny hopping, and it is what dominates most of the execution in Left 4 Dead speedrunning. You see, Left 4 Dead is built different. Since it is at its core a multiplayer game, it was always designed for server-based usage and low-end servers at that. Games sometimes run on what is known as a tick-based system. Basically, it's an internal clock that is used to track the game's actions. Left 4 Dead 2 runs at 30 ticks a second, which is about half of what you would see in something like CSGO, which uses 64 tick servers. Because of this and the insanely high ground friction, you can only maintain bunny hopping speed if you jump the very same tick you hit the ground. This sort of precision requires the use of a single input like a space bar to perform. Essentially, this means that every jump in a chain of bunny hops is tick perfect every time. Think frame perfect, but at 30 FPS. This may sound incredibly difficult. That's because it is. I'm a full-time streamer who is known for running some very difficult games, and I can without a doubt say that the hardest technique to learn in any of the games that I have run so far is bunny hopping in Left 4 Dead. However, I wouldn't say that this is a bad thing. Having hard movement tech in a game like this makes it so that the skill ceiling is exponentially higher. For someone like myself who loves a good challenge, I will never be able to perfect it, thus making it a goal I can chase essentially forever. And I must say there is nothing more satisfying in speedrunning than hitting a crazy good chain of bunny hops in Left 4 Dead. Rushing past commons and outrunning tanks and hunters, all while crowning a few witches on the way, really brings a rush like no other. Especially since the feeling is derived from a complete mastery of the game's movement mechanics. If you would like to know more about bunny hopping and its effect on speedrunning, make sure to check out my history of bunny hopping video. This really puts into perspective the insane feats you sometimes see in Left 4 Dead speedrunning. Not only is maintaining that speed hard, but you also have to adapt to the environment organically as it changes every run. This brings us to the most fascinating part of Left 4 Dead speedrunning, the RNG. If somehow you don't know, Left 4 Dead's artificial intelligence is known as the Director. It's basically an AI program that decides where and when to spawn common and special infected, tanks, witches, weapons, and even pathways. These decisions are made essentially randomly, making for a truly unique experience every playthrough. For the casual, this makes for an insane level of replayability, as every attempt is entirely distinct in its combat and tactical layout. As a speedrunner, this can be very divisive. Lots of people have the notion that for speedruns, randomness is inherently bad because it leads to inconsistencies in routing and strategies, making the game more of a grind than necessary, basically padding out run attempts. This is true to an extent, but let me entertain the idea that randomness in a speedrun is similar to the political horseshoe theory. Once you have a certain amount of random elements, it stops being unfun and starts making the run fresh. I would say that Left 4 Dead 2 is a perfect example of a game having so many fucking things be random that it comes all the way back around to being fun again. As the saying goes, there is so much random shit, it'll never actually be a good run. The way I see it is, no matter how long you grind, there is simply too much going on, and you have to run at too high a level for it to ever be perfect. The combination of executing insane movement and getting good RNG being so unlikely that you can never even strive for it. This frees the runner from the stress of achieving the perfect run. You can just sit back and enjoy the variance on display and try your best to adapt to it. This is where this speedrun really shines for me. Left 4 Dead 2 challenges the player's adaptability and game knowledge, as well as overall skill on a moment-to-moment level. There are so many possible solutions that it is impossible to know them all ahead of time. How well you handle these situations and what you can make of them is where the golden moments shine through. True spontaneity and improvisation is on display during high-level speedruns, the kind unlike any other game I have ever seen. While it is possible for the game to put you in an almost unwinnable situation, it is usually the exception. No matter how bleak the situation looks, there is almost always a way out, and finding that way out is the most satisfying thing ever. This is the reason this game is my favorite speedrun of all time. Not only to do, but to watch. I could watch hours and hours of Left 4 Dead 2 speedruns. Each player has their own style and methods in approaching different situations. Seeing players climb out of a hole that the game puts them in is something I'll never not find entertaining. There are two main categories in Left 4 Dead 2, main campaigns and all campaigns. The rules for both are basic. You must complete either the main 5 Left 4 Dead 2 campaigns, these being Dead Center, Hard Rain, Swamp Fever, Dark Carnival, and The Parish, or all 13 and more recently 14 campaigns added since the release in any order that you desire. You can only play one version per run. No use of console commands are allowed, and it must be done in one sitting. Each category has a version of the run that is done co-op, with 2 or more players, and on solo. The default is any difficulty, meaning that you're allowed to change the difficulty on the fly mid-run, But there is a separate category for the true masochists out there that want to be locked to expert realism the whole time. Solo speedruns are my favorite because I have no friends. They are basically the ultimate test of adaptation to the ever-changing environment. At every safe room and at most event triggers, all active members of the game must be present in order to progress. Since bots are super slow, this means that you get to pretend it's versus and kill your teammates at the beginning of each round. Taking a few seconds to kill them at the beginning of each round is a lot faster than waiting for them to catch up later on. On any difficulty, you start on expert so you can do the most team damage possible and then switch back to easy before going on your merry way. However, this does mean that you have no backup when venturing out of the safe room. And since the game is balanced for multiplayer, if you're grabbed by jockeys, hunters, smokers, or chargers, you are just dead, unless you can manage to kill them afterwards, like with fire or a tank or something else. The game was not only balanced for multiple players, it's also coded for them. The hitbox for certain enemies actually expands beyond their visible model. This was originally to make it so that when the player is playing with high levels of lag, the hitbox and model would actually line up correctly. However, on a solo local server, this just means that the hitbox is distended. The combination of these things makes running solo an edge-of-your-seat thrilling experience. At any second, a new danger could spawn that requires your full attention. Tense, moment-by-moment action is what I love in a game like Left 4 Dead, and this game delivers like no other. In fact, it's so brutal that most runs have at least one death in it.
What? Where even is the tank? What was that throw? What the fuck?
Only about the top 5 runs have deathless runs, and achieving one is a feat that I will never forget.
I mean, getting my first deathless run was fucking sick. I was like super hyped. I didn't think I'd ever actually be able to do it, because this game's so random and painful at times, but I grinded for it and I actually got it. And since then, I've gotten a couple of no death runs, at least in mains.
Main campaigns is the one that everyone should run. It's short and sweet, about an hour long, and has some of the coolest tech in the run. You always start with Dark Carnival, as it has a glitch in the finale that allows you to kick the bots. Kicking them saves time not having to kill them in subsequent levels, and the introvert in me is for some reason pleased now. There are some tricks that require a bot to perform, so we keep at least one. Each map has its own theme and skill set that is required. Dark Carnival primarily is the best for movement, as it has lots of flat open surfaces. The Parish is the most unforgiving, as its level design allows specials to track you indefinitely. Swamp Fever and Hard Rain have lots of water that require the use of adrenaline for optimal speed, and Dead Center requires the handling of cans and cola. All campaigns, though, is where shit really hits the fan, and I love this about it. In the version of Left 4 Dead 2 that you run all campaigns on, you can only vote to change difficulty one time per level. This means for the first few campaigns, the optimal routing is to do every other level on Expert. Because there are skips in a lot of the campaigns that require having AI companions, the route is changed so that all of the levels that require bots are front-loaded. This way, you can kick all of the bots and do the rest of the run entirely solo. So, the first 5 campaigns, you run half of the game on Expert. This makes for an insanely intense early game that can be extremely punishing. Once you get to Dark Carnival though, you can do the rest of the 13 campaigns on easy the whole time, as you have no bots. However, now you play on realism. Realism saves about 20 seconds per finale for all of the Left 4 Dead 1 campaigns, and so we must play the rest of the run with it on. This adds a unique layer of challenge to the run, as you no longer have the ability to kill infected so easily, and objects and items are harder to find. This run clocks in at about 2.5 hours and is the most brutal speedrun I have ever attempted. Even finishing one run is a feat in and of itself. There has only ever been 3 deathless runs of this category ever, and I doubt that'll change anytime soon. On September 24th of 2020, the Left 4 Dead community released an expansion update to the game with the help of Valve themselves, creating lots of new content, including a new campaign. Rebalances, patches for skips, and new weapons brought a new life to the game, but the once labeled all campaigns category was no longer accurate. This led to the creation of an all-new All Campaigns category, and dubbing the old one All Campaigns Legacy, as the runs are so fundamentally different as to validate them being separate categories. The new All Campaigns, as of right now, is a relatively new phenomenon, and the impacts of that are not fully understood. The main difference being, obviously, the addition of a new campaign, as well as the ability for players to vote as many times as they would like in single-player mode. This drastically changes the routing for the category, as you no longer have to prioritize kicking the bots. God spots and most skips were also patched, even on the older maps, so a lot of the cool things you could do in the past were no longer possible, leading to a less interesting category in my opinion. While the solo run is my favorite, it is undeniable that Left 4 Dead speedruns are known for being cooperative. Originally being showcased in the charity event Games Done Quick, aka the Speedrun Super Bowl, in 2011. Its debut was not a pretty one. Even for the time, the run was not very good. With 4 players playing on Advanced, no bunny hopping was on display, and the running of the main campaigns, only 5 maps, took over 2 hours. This showcase inspired a new wave of runners to absolutely demolish these times and actually start optimizing the game. That is until in 2016 when the game was showcased once again, this time by more competent runners. The run wasn't the best, but it was a big jump from what was being showcased in 2011, and this is in no way an indictment of those who ran in the past, as new progress is always something that happens over time gradually. Inspired by this 2016 run, a few runners set out to beat this GDQ time, and this would lead to the current bout of optimization and development that we see today. Coming to a head in 2018, when Burhack, Mr. Deagle, Mr. Fails, and The Master all ran co-op mains at AGDQ 2018 in 55 minutes, shattering the previous 2 runs in both commentary and speed. So it's an understatement to say that the overall representation of Left 4 Dead 2 speedrunning has been based in co-op, and there is no wonder why. Co-op is by far the flashiest and most broken run of the game. There is a never-ending amount of ways to skip things, with grenade launcher boosts, idle warps, and clips, as well as throwable boosts. While the tension and anxiety is gone, it is replaced by a manic and unquenchable thirst for speed. Flying over triggers and into safe room doors, bunny hopping as a team, and jumping to your death, as well as all manner of absolute insane shit goes down in co-op. And while I love co-op, I am really excited to see the solo categories get some love and representation. To me, Left 4 Dead 2 speedruns are about overcoming insurmountable odds, facing your inner demons, and working hard to be your best.
Yep. I literally can't fucking see, dude. What? Oh my god.
There is nothing more discouraging than events out of your control, but what defines us is not our failures, but how we get back up from them.
Wow. 52-53. That's such a good time. Holy shit. Whew. Wow.
Persevering past the actions we cannot control and striving to be a better version of ourselves. About a year ago, I was working on my degree, going to school full time while trying to make it as a content creator. I was living at my mom's, working on Twitch and YouTube 60 hours a week, all while trying to stay afloat in school. I recently picked up Left 4 Dead 2 speedrunning and had the goal of getting it into Games Done Quick. I had an immense amount of pressure placed upon me by my mother, and I was beginning to crack. I saw GDQ as a way out, as the catalyst for what would take my meager career of being a content creator into the realm of sustainability. I grinded out speedruns of Left 4 Dead 2, 16 hours a day for almost 2 months, streaming 12 hours or so, stopping only to breathe, and find myself grinding offline. I was obsessed. I learned a lot about myself during this period. The seemingly insurmountable odds stacked against me made my attempts to escape my fate feel fleeting. But I never gave up. And eventually, after weeks of grinding, I achieved a 54-minute time. With no deaths. Top 8. This to me seemed close enough to the top to be accepted into an event like GDQ. So I submitted my run. And I waited and waited and waited, only for the event itself to be postponed due to the coronavirus outbreak. Then moved online, and eventually the games list did come out, but to my dismay, I was not a part of it. Since then, I had moved out, dropped out of school, and found other endeavors to push my career forward. But I never felt a loss of pride towards the time that I achieved during that grind. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. Diamonds made from extreme pressure. Recently, GDQ closed its submissions for its newest event in January of 2021, and I was on that list twice. Once for Devil May Cry 3 Virgil, and the other one, main campaign solo. The first time the solo run has ever been shown at a Games Done Quick event, and my first run at a major Games Done Quick event. The run I submitted was my personal best. That same 54-minute time that I grinded so hard for. The same game that I played in that stranger's apartment all that time ago. While it's probably unrealistic to say that if you run Left 4 Dead 2 that it'll have the same impact on you as it did me, I do think there is something really motivating about trying to overcome insurmountable odds. And the people that do so are truly inspiring. For me, that takes the form of watching some of the insane runners in this community that are far superior than I. People like Eurus, Charlastic, Burhack, The Master, Mr. Fails, and Mike, as well as many others. The beauty of this is that you don't have to be some high-level god to feel the same impact on your life that the game has had on us. Battling your inner demons and fighting the odds is something fundamental to speedrunning a game like Left 4 Dead, and I think that there is something really valuable in that. So if you're someone who likes a challenge and is not afraid of going against the odds, then this is why you should speedrun Left 4 Dead 2. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you liked it. This is a format that's a little more personal than anything else I've ever done before, so let me know if you like it. I am launching my Patreon, so if you'd like to support me directly, $5 a month gets you a thank you in the credits of my videos, and there's a special $25 tier if you want some speedrunning tutoring from yours truly. The link is in the description, and much love, y'all.